My 43 male ex-wife, 38 female, won't stop interfering and sabotaging any relationship I try to have. Sorry, this is sort of a long post, but I want you readers to have the full picture of what's been going on. To give you a little bit of the backstory, my ex-wife cheated on me several times and left me for a guy she met at the gym back in the beginning of 2017. We were divorced by June of 2018. I found out after our divorce about a few more men she slept with before we got separated. Apparently, half the people in our small town knew what was going on, and no one thought it was their place to say anything to me. Anyway, the guy she left me for ended up being very horrible. By the end of 2017, she finally admitted to what was going on and had come to me for help. I told her that she could move back in with the kids and I, and that I would do everything I could to help her get away from that situation. After a couple months of her still getting pulled back in with the abusive boyfriend and constantly going back and forth between our house and the roadside motel the boyfriend lived at, she wanted me to drop the divorce. But I told her that I couldn't do that. I told her that she could stay living with us for as long as she needed, even after the divorce, but the divorce had to continue. Once she knew that I was not backing down on the divorce, she has set out to make my life hell in any way she possibly can. She has sabotaged every relationship I've tried to have. She talks bad about me in front of our 4 children, or even directly to them. She has harassed the women I've dated, demanding their personal information. Full legal name, home address, phone number, and social security number. She claimed that she had a legal right to their information, and that she legally was allowed to run a background check on anyone that would be alone with our children or drive them anywhere. She talks badly to our children about whoever I'm dating. She would show up at my house unannounced and just walk in the front door without ringing the doorbell or knocking first. If she knew I was out with someone I was dating, she would intentionally start harassing me over text and email with some arguments pertaining to our kids. If she knew I was home with someone I was dating during her parenting week, she would intentionally show up at my house unannounced and let the kids come running to my house. These are just a few examples of the things she does. Most recently, she has now taken me back to court to try and get full custody of our children. Currently, we have 50-50 agreement. I have only dated 3 women since my divorce. The first woman I dated was someone that I met literally 1 week after my divorce. We became friends and hung out only as friends for the first couple of months. I had just finalized my divorce and she was still in the middle of hers. I told her when we first met that I was not ready to date, and she said the same. During this time, because we are not romantically involved, she had met my children. When our feelings for each other became more, we started dating, but it only lasted a couple months. She had one run-in with my ex-wife. 1 week during my parenting time, I was at work and my kids were at my parents' house. My kids wanted to go to my girlfriend's house to play, so my girlfriend went and picked them up. My ex-wife found out that my kids were not at my parents' house and demanded to know where they were. I told her they were at a friend's house playing with other kids. She immediately demanded my girlfriend's personal information, insisting that she had a right to do a background check on her. I, of course, told her that I wasn't going to give her the information. She was making such a stink about it that she showed up at my parents' house demanding that our children be brought back there immediately. My girlfriend didn't want to cause any problems, so she drives my kids back to my parents' house. My ex-wife was there the driveway, and she immediately got right in my girlfriend's face and started yelling and cursing at her right in front of the kids. She was demanding my girlfriend's personal information. My girlfriend told her that she wasn't comfortable giving her the information, but that she would respect her wishes as a mother, and she would not drive my kids anywhere or be alone with them again in the future. My ex didn't care, and said that because she had already driven them, she had a right to this information. My father had to step in between them, because he was afraid that my ex-wife was going to hit my girlfriend. After this, my girlfriend ended our relationship, as she told me that she couldn't deal with having that in her life. I couldn't blame her, but we are still very good friends to this day. It was about 8 months later before I dated anyone. This relationship lasted almost a year. I learned from my previous short-lived relationship and did everything I could to keep my ex-wife away from this woman. Once this woman met my kids, and my kids started telling their mother how much they liked this woman, that's when the harassment started. My ex-wife showed up at my house one night when she knew I wasn't home, and my girlfriend was here alone with my kids. My ex-wife walked into my house without knocking or ringing the doorbell, and began harassing my girlfriend in front of the kids, demanding her personal information. My girlfriend tried to have the conversation moved to the other room away from the kids, but my ex-wife insisted that they be present for the conversation. My girlfriend was feeling extremely pressured and ended up giving my ex-wife all of her personal information. Needless to say, it didn't take long for my ex-wife to start texting my girlfriend and calling her. My ex would talk bad about me all the time to her. This, of course, was causing major problems in our relationship. That, plus the other issues in our relationship, I decided to end the relationship. We are also still friends to this day. Now for the main reason for this post. Last October, I started dating someone. Getting to know this person has been the most amazing experience. We connected on so many levels. I've never in my entire life been in a relationship like this one. Not one red flag, not one argument, just an amazing relationship. Once again, as soon as my ex-wife found out I was dating someone, she started harassing me. I was able to keep my new relationship away from my ex. They never met or spoke to each other. So because my ex-wife couldn't sabotage that way, she started talking badly about this woman to our children. She would tell our son that I didn't care about him anymore, and that all I wanted to do was spend time with my new girlfriend and her 4-year-old son. She would tell our daughters that I didn't care about them anymore because all I wanted to do was spend time with my new girlfriend. Mind you, during this time, my girlfriend had not even met my kids yet. So during my parenting weeks, I did not see my girlfriend at all. During a court hearing for our current custody battle, my ex started saying horrible lies about my girlfriend and her son, telling the judge that she is mean to my kids and that she doesn't respect them, and that her 4-year-old son is horrible, and that all of my kids told my ex-wife that they hated my girlfriend. All of it, of course, was a lie. At the time of this court hearing, my girlfriend had only been around my kids a total of 8 times. She had them over for dinner a few times with her son, and we met her and her son out at some parks a few times. Unfortunately, my girlfriend was in the next room when I was on a Zoom call for this court hearing, so she heard everything that was said about her. This was the beginning of the end of our relationship. She ended it a few weeks later and said that she's in love with me, but she could not take having that kind of stuff in her life. I don't know what to do to force my ex-wife to stop doing what she does. I've brought it up in court. I've spoken to my lawyer. I've sent my ex-wife emails and texts asking her to stop, but nothing seems to work. Now for the top advice. The first thing you need to do is change the locks on your doors. She does not have the right to enter your house at will. Stop taking her calls. Change your number. There are web applications that are approved by the courts to enable co-parenting communications. Our Family Wizard is an example of one of the better-known programs. All communications go through the app and cannot be deleted. Only do child swaps in a location that is safe and has video surveillance. Most police stations have specific areas to enable this. If the harassment continues, file for a protection order. It's a crappy situation you are in. Good luck to you. I tried having us use an app, but she refused to use it. I brought this up in court as well. I also brought up the issue of parental alienation in court. I had screenshots of text messages from my kids talking about all the things she says and does, but the judge wouldn't allow it. He said that it's considered hearsay. You need a new freaking lawyer. Apparently, it's kind of hard to get a restraining order here in New Jersey. Change the locks on your door and speak to a lawyer about full custody followed by a restraining order. Dig up all the horrible stuff she sent and ask your exes if they would be willing to write a statement about the impact of the behavior. The thing is, she's completely out of line, and it's time to play hardball. Stop speaking to her unless it's directly related to your children. See if there's any way for you to prove parental alienation is what she's doing is trying to drive a wedge between you and your children. Yes, in this current custody battle, I filed a cross motion asking for full custody. Also, each one of my ex-girlfriends testified as fact witnesses to talk about their interaction with my ex. We don't communicate unless it's related to our children. I also brought up the issue of parental alienation in court. I had screenshots of text messages from my kids talking about all the things she says and does, but the judge wouldn't allow it. Why does she have unfettered access to your home? What you need is to put all your money into having the best, most ruthless attorney who can get you better custody. Document all the instances of parental alienation. Have your exes be witnesses. She's doing this because there have been no consequences. Start having consequences. All communication unless an emergency goes through your attorney. She doesn't have unrestricted access to my house. Unfortunately, with 4 kids going in and out of the house all day, the front door gets left unlocked often, and or doesn't get closed all the way. I wish I had the money to have all of our communication go through our lawyers. Between my divorce and this custody battle, I've spent upwards of $35,000. Next story. Brother 29 male has proposed to my ex-girlfriend 20 female. My mother expects me to be a groomsman at the wedding, so we can show it's all water under the bridge, and they won't gossip. I 21 male dated Mary, 20 female, since we were 16 and 17. We broke up at the beginning of this year, a month before our 4-year anniversary. We share mutual friends, so I was aware that Mary recently moved into the city. My older brother, 29 male, also lives in the city, but it wasn't until I saw a photo one of our mutual friends took at a party at the beginning of the summer, where she was in the background standing with my brother, that I even knew they had spoken to each other after we broke up. I spoke to the friend who had taken the photo, who said that she had seen the two of them together at a party, but she wasn't aware of what their situation was. I confronted my brother, who admitted that they were dating, but it had started within the past few weeks, that it felt like it was alright to begin dating her because I had started dating someone else, so he assumed I wouldn't care. I recently realized they actually began dating a while before that though, as in once we broke up, due to a photo of them kissing where you can see snow falling in the background. I told him that absolutely wasn't the case, that it was a messed up thing to do, and that a sibling's ex should be off limits. He said, oh well, support us or don't. He didn't care. My mother and my aunt totally supported it because they love Mary. So I pretty much stopped going to all family dinner and events because it was incredibly awkward for me and my new girlfriend. Now I found out they're engaged. My mom called me and told me I'm expected to be one of my brother's groomsmen, and that me showing and supporting him is the only way people want to gossip. Like it's all water under the bridge and we've squashed all of our beef. I don't feel like it's water under the bridge or squashed. I don't want to go to his wedding or pretend to support their marriage. My mom is flipping out on me for saying I won't go. I hate to make her upset, but I don't think I could stomach it. How do I deal with my family here? I've been raised that family is everything, but I'm incredibly tempted to just go no contact with all of them. Your mom wants you to be the groomsman so that your brother feels less guilty and it looks less scandalous. Yes, that's exactly the reason. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Or show up and give a speech and start talking about how you've slept with a bride many times. I remember the first time my brother met Mary, when she was 16, in school, and he was 25 at a full-grown adult. Luckily, he didn't do anything about it then, because he might be a scumbag who puts his prick over his brother's feelings, but at least he's not a nonce, that I know of. Wait, so it's only been a few months and he's already asking her to marry him and he is 9 years older than her? Holy crap. Just bask in the satisfaction that this will not end well, let alone amicable, and tell your mom to buzz off. The only way this timeline makes sense if she's pregnant. Either that or this has been going on long before the breakup. Ask your mother why she's more worried about people gossiping than she's about your feelings. I would also find this difficult and hurtful. You don't have to go to the wedding, or anywhere else you might see your brother at his fiancé/her ex. She's worried about gossip because she knows what it looks like. Last story is titled, He Cheated and Destroyed Our Family. My husband and I are both 36. We met in college and have been together for 17 years. Married for 10 years and just had our first and only child 2 years ago. He travels a lot for work and is usually gone for several months at a time. Last year, Corona halted that. He started traveling again in November. A woman had joined their team, and they had become chummy. I have no issue with him having female friends, but the relationship always made me feel a little odd, especially after meeting her. She is his type. I even made a comment about that to him, and he told me I was overthinking it and that he's married. She's in a relationship and has a 12 or 13-year-old with a guy. I put it out of my mind because he's never given me any reason to doubt him or not trust me in the past. He goes on a work trip the end of January for 3 weeks. He tells me she isn't going. It's just him and some guy he works with. Okay, no biggie. I remember FaceTiming him on Valentine's Day. We talked before and after this, but you'll see why this is an important date soon. And him not picking up. The next day told me he was swamped with work. Again, I think nothing of it. This has happened in the past before she was in the picture and she's not on the trip. He comes back and everything seems normal. In May, he is on another work trip. I couldn't get a hold of him for 2 days, so I started to panic thinking something happened. I check his computer to see if he is in a meeting and see a bunch of texts for her. She was on that work trip in January/February and she's pregnant. I lose my freaking mind. Still can't get a hold of him, so I wait until he comes home to have the conversation with him. He admits everything and tells me it's not serious. It had been going on since before Christmas, and he doesn't even know if the baby is his. It is. He loves me, but is extremely attracted to her, while he wants to work on us. I kicked him out. It took a few days, but I end up tracking down the boyfriend and tell him what's going on. He's also not happy and said he knew his girlfriend had been acting weird. Ironically, we're both friends now. I barely talk to my husband besides about our child. Then I found out today they're living together, and the baby was conceived on Valentine's Day. I finally thought I was in a better headspace and find this out. Fuming is putting it mildly. I know this sounds super crappy, but I don't know how I'm going to co-parent with this garbage can for the rest of my life. Holy smokes. I wish you nothing but the best. Stay positive and focus on you and your kid. I'm trying, but it's so hard when one dumpster fire after another is dropped on you. Just remember they won't end up happy. They're both liars. They're both cheaters. They fast-tracked a relationship with an unwanted pregnancy. They're the dumpster fire. It will end badly, so get your popcorn ready. Here's where my petty side comes out. I can't wait to watch it all fall apart. I'm just glad you kicked him out. Some women wouldn't even do that. If it was a one-time thing, maybe we could have worked through that in therapy. But no way in hell a months-long affair resulting in a pregnancy. Don't forget to have a look at reporting the relationship after the divorce too. But that's because I'm a petty a-hole. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my sister-in-law after she expected me to pay her and her friend's bill? So I, 25 female, went out for dinner for my sister-in-law's 28 female bachelorette party this past weekend. Between my sister-in-law and my husband, 26 male, sister-in-law has always been the golden child of the family. Growing up, my in-laws cuddled her and gave her everything that she wanted, while my husband always got the crappy end of the stick. She was always the popular girl in school, cheerleader, lots of friends, and all the boys loved her, while my husband was always a little more nerdy and got picked on quite a bit. Even my in-laws would give him a hard time about this and say he needed to be more like his sister. Well, fast forward to today, both my husband and I went to top schools, got our degrees, and currently have very well-paying jobs in tech. I'm not trying to sound braggy, this is just for context, but we live a very, very comfortable life. Sister-in-law still currently lives at home with my in-laws where they foot all of her bills. She had my niece, 4 female with her ex, and is currently on marriage number 2. This past weekend, I was invited to this fancy upscale restaurant in my city for my sister-in-law's bachelorette party, saying she just wanted to do a nice dinner. There were 8 of us in total, and at the end of dinner, the bill comes out and the waiter hands it to me. I'm sitting there confused for a second, until sister-in-law speaks up and is all, "My parents and I were talking, and we're thinking you and my brother can handle the bill for this, as a wedding gift, since you're not financially contributing to my wedding." I stared at her shocked for a moment, and then was like, "And you didn't think to bring this up to me beforehand?" She started going off about how we're so well off, so what's the big deal? And she's sure her brother wouldn't have an issue with it. I asked her why her fiancé doesn't foot the bill, or my in-laws, and where in her right mind she thinks it's okay to spring this on me. She started going on about how we're the wealthiest in both her and her fiancé's family, and that she didn't think I would act like this and would say yes. I told her, "Well, sorry, but I'm not your parents. Don't expect handouts from me." She called me selfish, and I called her entitled brat, paid for my half of the bill, and left. Well, as expected, my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and even some of the cousins and aunts on my husband's side have been absolutely furious with me and are expecting me to apologize for the comments. I told them over my dead body. Husband is 100% on my side, and we are debating on not going to the wedding. I was talking to my mom, and she thinks I took it too far with the comments, and she just apologized to keep the peace. Am I the a-hole? Info, the bill was close to $1,000. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Don't apologize. No matter how much money you make, you are not expected to 1. Contribute to your sister-in-law's wedding, WTF. 2. Foot the bill for an entire bachelorette party that you were attending as a guest. 3. De-escalate her temper tantrum once she didn't get her way. The burden of payment for a bachelorette party usually falls on the maid of honor and bridesmaids, and arranged for ahead of time, or the bride. And a far more common occurrence is that everyone pays their own way but chips in for the bride so that she is taken care of. But again, that's settled way ahead of time. Not the a-hole. I guarantee you were only invited as a setup to try and make you pay. Don't go to the wedding. And I'd honestly consider how much contact you want to maintain with sister-in-law and your in-laws moving forward. It's clear they see you two as nothing but an ATM. They obviously splurged as much as they wanted as well, with the bill being close to $1,000. Not the a-hole. The fact of her springing that on you at the end is unconscionable. It'd be one thing but still questionable if they had approached you privately beforehand to see if you'd throw a dinner for them. It's another entirely to surprise you at the end of a dinner and expect you to pay for not only her, but 6 of her friends. Even more so that she did it publicly. My guess is, she wanted to rely on you acquiescing to social pressure to do it without a fuss. Also that she expects contribution from you for her wedding. If you were her parent, that's one thing. But as a future sister-in-law? This is so wildly entitled on her part, and on the part of the families backing her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my family's cookbook with my half-sister? My mom's grandma started a cookbook before she had kids. My grandma inherited it off her when grandma started having kids, and then my mom got it before she had me. My mom gave it to me when she was sick. I was 7 at the time and died soon after. She told me to be careful with it, and that it was special to our family. A couple of years after she died, I learned my dad had cheated on her with his now wife, and that my half-sister was the product of an affair, and born before my parents' divorce was finalized. I was too young to realize when it was all going on. After learning this, I had a hard time being around my dad. I remember my mom being sad, and it made sense why. I also learned that he had told my mom in a really cruel way. How I found out is, I eavesdropped on a fight between my dad and my maternal uncle and aunt and heard it all, including how much my dad hated how boring my mom was. I remained distant from him, his wife, and my half-siblings ever since, but I have 2 more half-sisters and a half-brother. My dad decided to tell the oldest of my half-siblings about the cookbook. He mentioned how much I valued it and all kinds of stuff. She wanted to share it with me, to cook from it and to get right in it like I will someday. She pestered me about it, and every time I told her no. Then her parents would tell her more about it. In the end, she was upset and sobbing over being told no. I had told her it was something special from my mom's side, that I wanted to keep it private until I have children. That wasn't good enough, because she insisted we're family and she's my sister. My dad and his wife were angry with me. My dad's parents also told me I should have shared it with her, and that I'm being cruel to her when my mom isn't alive to care if the child born from the affair gets part of the book or not, but she could be closer to me because I share it with her. I don't really care about my dad nor his wife's opinion. I have no respect for them. They are pieces of trash in my eyes, but my grandparents and I always got along okay enough. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And give the book to your aunt or uncle for safekeeping. Before it goes missing, is destroyed or edited. Scan the pages and make yourself a working copy. Then put the original somewhere safe as a treasured heirloom. Maybe get a safe deposit box. I'm petty. I'd scan the pages but make some photoshopped alterations, which makes the recipes taste wrong/inedible. You'll know. But if they copy your book, they won't be able to reproduce them properly. Not the a-hole. But you need to hide that book somewhere safe because they will take it. If they're petty enough, they'll probably destroy the cookbook. The parents could make their own traditions, but they wanted to hijack OP's maternal family's tradition. Not an if, it's a for sure. There's literally no other reason for dad to want this other daughter to have it, other than knowing it hurts Opie and his ex-wife. Literally, that is it. He doesn't care if it makes Opie closer with her sister. He just wants to keep hurting his ex, because he has made it clear he has nothing but negative feelings for her. He called her boring and deliberately cheated on her as punishment for being so, and continued to use that as justification to others and why he hurt her. Opie's dad just wants to continue hurting a dead person and doesn't care if it hurts Opie too, because he probably hates Opie too for being connected to her mother. Dad just wants the other daughter to have it, because he probably convinced her to hate Opie and destroy it for fun when she does get it. Everything Dad is doing is on purpose to cause pain and hurt to someone who has been dead, and to Opie because she's an extension of her mother. Pretty pathetic that he's still trying to hurt a dead woman. Next story. Am I the a-hole for canceling my mother-in-law's phone plan so she can't let my nephew use it? Am I the a-hole here? Everyone around me says yes, but I feel super gaslighted by my husband's family right now. We are both late 20s with no kids. we added my mother-in-law to our cell plan a few years ago when we got married because she lives alone and didn't have a cell phone. My husband thinks it will keep her safer to have one for emergencies. At the time we added her for her phone and plan, it was around $20 extra per month. Plan costs have gone up and she got a nicer phone, so now it's close to $50 per month. Pretty steep the way the economy is, right? Anyway, my husband's brother has a young kid. He's 8. He's a nice kid, but not my responsibility. When I called my mother-in-law's cell phone a few days ago, my nephew answered. I asked him if he was at Grandma's house and if I could talk to her. He said no. He was at his house and Grandma's given him her cell phone to keep because his parents wouldn't get him one. My mother-in-law didn't tell me nor my husband about this, and I got pretty angry. I'm already not thrilled about paying for her to have a cell phone. So I'm definitely not happy about paying for my 8-year-old nephew to have it. So I went to her house and told her that if she wasn't going to use the phone, I was going to take it off our plan. And that I wanted the iPhone back from nephew because my husband's screen is cracked, and he can have hers. It will save us a few $100 since we won't have to buy a new phone. Needless to say, she's mad now because it's her phone to do with as she pleases, and she wants nephew to have it. I told her it's not her phone, and we won't pay for it if he's using it. I told hubby I was canceling it, and then I did. I told him if she wants a phone again, or wants nephew to have one, she can sign up for her own plan. He's mad that I did that. Mother-in-law's mad. Nephew and his parents are mad. But I did get the phone back, since it's no longer working on our plan. So am I the a-hole? I don't think I am. We all have to make cuts where we can with this economy. Now for the comments. Wait, the parents who wouldn't let their 8-year-old have a phone are mad? Shouldn't they be angry that your mother-in-law went over their heads? Or is nephew not getting a phone is for financial reasons? They just didn't want to have to pay for a phone, but are happy to have someone else pay for it. Not the a-hole. The whole point was for mother-in-law to have it because she lives alone and might have an emergency. If she chooses not to keep it, then you don't have to pay for anything. And clearly she doesn't need a phone, and she happily gave away someone else's property. Something tells me she intended for nephew to have it. That's why she upgraded a phone. Not the a-hole. Your husband and you put mother-in-law on your cell phone plan for her well-being. She's gotten a nicer phone, and plan costs have gone up, so instead of $20, you now pay $50 to assure mother-in-law's well-being. You have paid her cell phone costs for several years now. 8-year-old nephew's parents won't give him a phone. Mother-in-law gives your phone and plan, which $50 each month to 8-year-old. Now, his parents don't mind him having a phone. No one informed owners and payers of said phone and plan. OP cancels plan and recuperates phone. Now everybody faults OP for not wanting to pay $600 a year for having husband's brother's 8-year-old on their phone plan? Entitled anyone? Even the husband. What a jerk. I get the feeling that he's mad because mom is mad. Bingo. Last story. Am I the a-hole for ruining my son's sister's first birthday? My ex's new wife called me 3 weeks ago and said that she just realized her daughter's birthday was on my week. She asked me to please bring my son to the party or drop him off the night before and they'd bring him back the next morning. She was very entitled about it. She presented me 2 options when I don't have to do either. I said I would think about it, and she got huffy and said he has to be at his little sister's party. I again said I would think about it and she continued to argue, so I hung up. The day before the party, I asked my son, "Do you want to go to your sister's birthday party?" He said he did, so I texted her to tell her we would be there and ask her for the time of the party. She told me it was at noon. So we got there at 12:30 and there were no other cars, which was weird. When we went inside, my ex said he needed to talk to me, and I said that wasn't necessary. It asked where the party guests were. He said he needed to prepare me before I saw his wife. I said, why? Is she pregnant or something? He said she was, and I just rolled my eyes. I again asked where the party guests were. He said the party was at 2, but they wanted to make sure I had time to put myself together before the party. I told him he needed to quit with the soap opera drama, because I don't have time for it. I took time out of my day to accommodate them, but they blew it. I'm not hanging out with them in an empty house for over an hour, and I'm not wasting gas to leave and come back. I took my son to the park and we had a nice day. But my ex texted me a bunch about how I was punishing his daughter for the pregnancy when I don't care that his wife is pregnant. My only response was a text that said, "Grow up." My son asked about his sister's birthday, and I said there was a mix-up with the party time, which is true, and they would all celebrate together when he was at his dad's, so he was chill. My mom said I hurt the birthday girl, but she's one. She's not going to notice who is at her party. My mom told me to be the bigger person, but I feel there is a limit to that. I'm not going to reward lying and trickery in my ex, any more than I would reward it if my 6-year-old did it. Am I the a-hole for leaving and not coming back? So wait, your ex intentionally kept the actual time from you so you would show up early. And all that just so he can tell you about a pregnancy in person and give you time to put yourself together afterwards, as if it's some life-shattering news to you? Hell no, not the a-hole. He really seems to love drama. I would like to know what kind of reaction they wanted. You sobbing on the floor while they can be the bigger person and comfort you? And later they will tell everyone how hard it hit you and how nice they are for being there for you. Whatever weird kind of dream they had about this obviously did not work. They could have been normal and told you the actual time. It was already nice of you to bring your son. I would have told them they can drive if they want him to join during your time. I'm sure that was his fantasy. He's always preferred fantasy to reality. I thought it was romantic when I was young and stupid. Unfortunately, I too was made of flesh and bone, so he tired of me quickly. But it's fine. He gave me a gift I'd never return. I won't begrudge him the pain. It thickened my skin at least. Not the a-hole. They weren't honest with you. Your ex could have called you to tell you about the new pregnancy. They didn't need to trick you ahead of time. It was kind of you to show up with your child in your own parenting time. Next time you speak with them, let them know they need to be honest with you, or you will never be flexible with your own parenting time again. If you don't make a clear boundary, they will do this more, especially if they're making more children. They'll want to do more family parties, more vacations when it may be on your time. It would be nice if you could both be flexible with each other, but honesty and open communication is key here. They have to play ball too for it to work. Good luck, OP. Co-parenting is not easy. But if he was honest with me, he wouldn't have gotten a soap opera moment. He is, after all, the main character of life, and we are all just supporting players in a story. Jokes aside, you're right, but that's never going to happen. He's allergic to honesty. The only reason I didn't suspect trickery was because his wife made a request, not him. But I guess it's rubbed off on her. Lol. Well then, he doesn't get flexibility from you. That's his choice. You're right, they blew it. But they'll be claiming they're the victims until the end of time. It is what it is, I guess. Am I the a-hole for making my daughter-in-law cry? My son and daughter-in-law had their twins last year. They didn't want to put them in daycare and asked me if I could watch them. I've been doing childcare my whole adult life, as a nanny, and at the time I had a well-paying nanny job. My son and daughter-in-law couldn't afford to pay me as much, but I didn't mind as they're my grandkids and I love them. I do it for free, but I have to pay my bills. I did make sure multiple times that this was going to be permanent. I was quitting a good job for this, and I didn't want to have to scramble last minute. They swore up and down that it'd be until they were 3. I agreed, but I've had so much fun watching them this past year. They're now 18 months old, and I've started to teach them colors, ABCs, etc. We go to playgroup so they can be with kids their age. My son and daughter-in-law sat me down last week, saying they feel more comfortable with the daycare. After doing research, they feel it's best they're in daycare now. They've already found one and gave me 2 weeks' notice. I was upset. They promised me 3 years of work, and now I have to scramble to find a new job they'll pay as well as my last one. I said all of this, and they said it wasn't fair for me to expect them to keep to that. I pointed out what this would do financially to me, and they said they had to think of themselves. They're paying the child care more, but it's worth it. I said now I don't know how I'll pay my bills, including my son's student loans that I pay. I left shortly after. My son says his wife cried and that I shouldn't have guilted them about this. He said bringing up the money was manipulative. Am I the a-hole? As I know of, they're only sending them to daycare for socialization. They say there's nothing wrong with my care. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. They broke their commitment, and they are a-holes for making you pay student loans. Stop paying immediately if you can. This times 100. Do not pay student loans. If they can afford daycare, they can afford to pay loans. Not today, home. And stop paying your son's student loans, unless they are in your name. Even then, she should heavily put the onus on him to pay. You can clearly afford your student loans by yourself like an adult now. So since you've broken our commitment to me and I have loss of pay, I'm stopping my generous contribution to your financial obligations. Not today, home. Did you have any kind of formal contract? I would strongly consider not paying your son's student loans either. Typically, I would have a contract, but they were family, so I thought we'd forgo it. I didn't think they'd screw me over. The loans are in his name, but we had an agreement that I'd pay the loan and he'd pay interest. Is that agreement in writing? Lol. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's not. I'll probably stop paying. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting a teacher fired when she wouldn't let my daughter eat in class? My 47 female daughter, 13 female, is type 1 diabetic and sometimes hypoglycemic. Due to this, we set up a 504 that says she can eat a snack in class whenever needed, along with other accommodations. Anyways, at one point, one of her teachers, who is apparently a new teacher, denies her a snack while hypoglycemic. She nearly passes out, but then the next class she's in, the teacher has enough common sense to let her eat a snack before passing out at school. When she told me, I immediately called the teacher. When she called back, I lectured her and told her that she needed to let my daughter eat a snack when needed. She says snacks aren't allowed in class, but I tell her that due to my daughter's 504, she's legally required to give my daughter an exception to that rule, and recommended she give it another read. Before hanging up, I tell her that if she does this again, I will contact the principal and let him know. I recorded this call in my husband's phone, by the way. A month goes by and the same thing happens again. I request a meeting with the principal and my husband plays back the call between me and the teacher. I tell him she has done this twice and needs to have a talk with her. Turns out, he actually fired her for ADA violations. How do I know? I ran into her in public, and she told me that it's my fault I got her fired over some stupid snacks, and that I need to stop raising an entitled brat. Instead of arguing back, I just walked away. Was I really the a-hole? Did I actually go too far? Not the a-hole. A 504 is legally binding agreement that the school has to follow. The teacher was actually probably fired because she didn't follow the 504, and the school could get in trouble for that. ADA is the American with Disability Act, so I believe it would be an ADA violation to deny my daughter an accommodation that she needs. Not the a-hole. It's your fault that you threw your career away over some stupid snacks. I'm honestly baffled by the stupidity of this teacher. Not the a-hole. She put your daughter's life at risk. Twice. The school did her a favor, frankly, by firing her. Better be fired than let your foolish choices harm a child in your care and then have to deal with the consequences. In a way, the teacher was saved from herself. This reminds me of the idiotic high school coaches who harm children through negligence, but not recognizing heat stroke or other injuries. It is so easy to not actively fatally harm children under your care. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mom it's her fault I live in a cave? So my 18 female mom has been charging me market rate rent since I started working at 16, and I was left with travel money and just about had food money left. I got a pay raise recently, earning pretty much double what I was previously, and she tried to up my rent even further. When I refused, she kicked me out. This was the end of July and I'm just now kind of back on my feet. Recently moved into an apartment and my rent is quite high, and because it was furnished, I have a slight bit of wiggle room to start buying the essentials. I've started with the stuff I just need. I still haven't gotten around to buying real plates or cutlery because I haven't been able to, so I've been eating off plastic. I also have one light bulb, and I just take it from room to room. So, my mom asked if she could come over and talk yesterday, and I agreed to it. She came over, and the first thing she did was complain about how bare and dark it was. It was bright when she first came, so I was using the natural light. She eventually decided to order us food, and when it came, she asked where the forks were. She got them and got really angry that they were plastic. She went off at me, saying I can't afford this place since it's like I'm living in a cave, and that I should find something cheaper. I told her if she wasn't charging me more than what I'm paying here, I would have savings that didn't all go on an emergency deposit. And maybe then I'd have light bulbs and stainless steel forks. She thinks I'm being an a-hole for back talking. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Might be important to add that the rent I'm paying now, including bills, etc., is still less than what my mother was charging me. And now I can walk to work, so travel expenses are cut out almost entirely. Not stay whole and let me go ahead and say something your awful mother never will. I am so proud of you. You are building your future one light bulb at a time and not complaining one bit. You got out of a bad situation and are working to be financially stable. Those are all big accomplishments, and you were amazing for them. I suggest that you start limiting contact with your mom. It doesn't seem like she's a positive influence in your life, and I think you would be happier and free to grow more confidence if she wasn't around to put you down. She was abusive in charging you to live with your parents as a minor, and the way she treats you isn't okay. I hope you realize that and make the best choices for your mental health. Oh, also, I don't know if this will apply for you, but check with your power company. Mine sends boxes of free light bulbs for part of an energy initiative. You could also try your local food banks for a few extra staples and get some forks and spoons from the dollar store from the money you would have spent on the food. Good luck on your journey to self-sufficiency. I'd also like to add that thrift stores are a great place to buy silverware and serving sets when you get around to purchasing them. A lot of time you can find full china sets for next to nothing. Not only not a-hole, what your mom did was illegal. You cannot charge underage people rent unless they're emancipated. Take her to small claims courts and get back the 2 years of illegal rent she took. Be careful going this route, Opie. Reddit likes to pretend that we're bastions of free will individuals in a libertarian society. Suing your mom may be more damaging than the money you could get back. A parent who charges their minor child market rate rent is automatically the a-hole. Completely agree. Especially when the rent magically starts rising the sooner you get a pay raise. Opie shouldn't share their wages with their family. Next story. Am I the a-hole for judging my daughter? I'll preface this by saying that I have 2 daughters. Amy, 27, and Lily, 19. Lily just had her first baby months ago. The father is out of the picture, and she's only went to college 1 year, then dropped out to focus on her son. She's living with us right now and doesn't work. Amy's a college graduate, working and is engaged. She's doing well financially. She and her fiancé bought a decent apartment together. She visits every now and then, and she visited us yesterday for half an hour to tell us she was going to Ohio on a field trip with her friends and visit many places and national parks there. Lily looked sad throughout the entire visit and didn't speak till Amy left. I asked Lily what was wrong, and she said it wasn't fair that she doesn't have a job nor a degree, nor enough money to buy nice things or a new phone. And not even time to go on trips and enjoy herself. While Amy has money, recently bought a new apartment, and is going on a trip every now and then. She said it wasn't fair because she is younger than Amy and deserves to live her life too. And she asked, why? I frowned because I sensed some envy and resentment towards Amy. Even though it's not her fault, this is how Lily's life is like. I answered her question by saying that Amy didn't make any of the decision Lily did, and didn't choose all the roads Lily did, and so she shouldn't compare herself to her. Lily looked at me stunned, saying that I just basically blame her for the decisions she made and the roads she chose to walk down. I didn't respond, and she lashed out saying I was clearly judging her, which was cruel of me since she never said she regretted having her baby or dropping out of college, but I made it about that. I said I was sorry she misunderstood my point, and she called me a few names then stormed out of the kitchen, and kept ignoring me and refusing to speak to me saying I know what I did. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your delivery might have been a little awkward, but it was the truth. Lily's living with the consequences of her own decisions, which is adulting 101. Amy's also living with the consequences of her own decisions. If Lily doesn't like her life, then she can choose to change her situation. From the sounds of it, you are supporting Lily and her child, at least by keeping her housed. She sounds a bit entitled, spoiled, but perhaps needs mental health support to help her see her future differently. It might even be time to talk to Lily about her long-term plans. It's also not too late for Lily to turn her life around. If she wants Amy's life, she can go back to school and get that degree. Work out some sort of babysitting schedule or childcare plan. Lily should also remember that Amy has an 8-year head start on her. It's unrealistic to expect to have hit the same milestones as a 27-year-old woman at age 19. 1000% not a a-hole. She has a baby young. It's a different path. It's not going to look as shiny as someone who took a different path. Sounds like Lily just saw the consequences of her choices, but still doesn't quite get it. You said nothing wrong. You didn't blame her for her choices or victimize her. You just let her know there's a reason their lives look different. I hope she kicks the entitled attitude soon though. Not a a-hole. She reacted how a child would react. I suppose she wanted you to tell her that nothing is your fault and reinforce her point that life isn't fair. I think you dealt with it the correct way. You explained that the decisions you make in life have an outcome. Lily looked at me stunned, saying that I just basically blame her for the decisions she made and the roads she chose to walk down. I'm stunned that she was stunned at the idea that the decisions she made and the roads she chose to walk down are her fault. And now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom's friend the reason I'm not interested in her daughter? So, I stopped by my mom's house to pick up some stuff yesterday. Her friend was over because they had just gotten back from shopping. I've known my mom's friend Carla for a while. She has a daughter my age, and Carla has hinted before about introducing us. Well, I was running some stuff back and forth to my car when I heard Carla talking to my mom about how she just wished her daughter would get her life together and meet someone nice. Then she called my name and asked if I'm seeing anyone, to which I said no. Then she was all, "You should take my daughter out sometime. I'm sure you'd hit it off. She needs to meet a nice guy like you." I was like, I'm not sure. I'm kind of busy. Then I went back in my old room. I've heard enough from both Carla and my mom about her daughter to know that she's not my type. Her daughter was in a 2-year college for 4 years and then dropped out, which is normal and not bad. Then she had a decent job and quit because it was boring. She has a substance problem and is in and out of rehab, and she bounces from one guy to the next, and somehow gets them to pay her bills. A while passed and I got what I came for and was saying goodbye to my mom, when Carla started badgering me. "So, when are you going to take her out?" I let her know. I said, "Like I said, I'm kind of busy right now." "Too busy to take a nice girl out on a Friday?" "Yeah, and I'm not really interested, sorry." "Well, why not? She's a nice pretty girl. You'd be good for her." I was getting annoyed because I felt cornered and looked at my mom for help, but she didn't do anything. So I said, "Yeah, maybe, but that doesn't mean she'd be good for me." What's that supposed to mean? Well, I'm not really into girls that don't have a job and have addiction problems. She flipped out and said she can't believe I'd be so rude. She's known me since I was a kid, and that she was trying to fix me up with her daughter. I should take it as a compliment. Instead of insulting her daughter, I could have just said no. I left and my mom called me later and said it was really mean to say that to Carla when she was just trying to be nice. That I came off like a snobby a-hole. Even if I wasn't interested, I could have been nicer about it. Am I the a-hole? I could have just said no, which is exactly what you did. Not the Opie. Came here to say this. Opie said no. She shouldn't have asked why if she didn't want to hear the answer. Even if the answer wasn't she's an addict. It was bound to be something that was not going to be complimentary. She's the a-hole for asking the question and then getting mad at him for answering honestly. Right? Like, what possible answer to that question would be deemed acceptable? I have taken a lifelong vow of celibacy? Your daughter is such a paragon of purity that I may only worship her from afar from anonymous tokens of my undying devotion. I'm a werewolf, and your daughter deserves someone who won't turn into a man-eating monster once a month. Obviously, it's a rhetorical question meant to manipulate Opie into a reluctant agreement to take her out. But people who ask blatantly manipulative rhetorical questions deserve actual answers. Her mom has stated she has substance problem and uses guys. Why would you even want that in your life? Edit. Forgot to say you did say no more than once. They pushed, and it's their fault for the response in my mind. Yeah. If Opie had said the insults right off the bat the first time Carla ever mentioned dating her daughter, it'd be an a-hole. But it's clear she's been at it a long time. And during this visit Carla kept pushing, Opie tried to be polite and brush it off as not wanting to date anyone at the moment, which is the gentlest rejection ever. Not only would she not take no for an answer, she demanded to know why Opie wasn't interested. It's not really his fault she didn't like the answer. People who are super pushy about trying to matchmake others are total a-holes to me. Even if the person they're being pushy about isn't a bad person or anything like that, it's still annoying if they won't just listen to a no.